Hi, this is Jim Jubileer, Jubileer Results Group, and I'd like to welcome you to First Fridays. This month's topic is your unique gift, how you live your why. I want to give a welcome to everybody who's been able to attend. We're going to be doing work that is called Discover Your Why or Know Your Why, and I can point you to our website where all this information is called knowyourwhy.com. The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. Why is the deep hidden river that runs underneath everything, that motivates us, that causes us to get out of bed, that helps us overcome hurdles when we hit them. So I want to do a refresh of something that was on last month's webinar, but some people are joining new for the first time. When you were a baby, an infant, a newborn, a toddler, and you were hungry, what did you do? You cried. What happened? You got fed. So you made an association that crying equals success. It's the middle of the night. You're afraid, you're wet, you're cold, could be anything. What do? You cry. What happens? You get comforted. And we deepen the association that crying equals success. But somewhere along the line, we have other experiences where we find maybe we're crying and we're not getting our needs met. And we start to realize at a very, very young age, pre-verbal, before we could talk, before our whole personality was formed, we developed a worldview about how things work. Your why is the way in which you identify wants and needs and how you think you'll meet success. So your why is hardwired into who you are. It's in your value system. It's in your beliefs. It causes you to get up every morning. It tends to be unchanging, meaning it doesn't change over time. It's not situation specific. It's really a core of who you are. The why work began with a book called Start With Why, and then it evolved into the work that we're doing now based on a team of people that have come together whose own why is to find a better way. And we've turned it into a system. And there are 9 whys that we've articulated. I won't read through each of them. You'll have that on your screen, and you'll have a copy of the presentation or the webinar afterwards. So there are not an infinite number of whys. We can actually help a person discover their why in a very short period of time. It takes a 10-minute, 15-minute conversation max. And it's proven science. We've done hundreds of them, and it really has a big impact on how people view themselves and the world. But some people say, well, how can there only be 9 whys? There's all kinds of different people. Well, your unique gift is how you express it into the world. So your why is also unique to you, of course, but how you express it is completely unique to you. My why might be the same as your why, but how we express it might be quite different. And so today we're talking more about the how than the why. If you missed my initial call and you would like to hear it, you can access that through my website or send me a note and get caught up on what we covered in session 1. There's 2 parts to the brain. The neocortex is in the front, like behind your forehead, and it evolved. That's our thinking brain, rational, analytic. It uses thoughts, and it uses words as a way to express. But inside is more of our primitive brain, the limbic brain, that uses images and pictures and feelings and emotions, not words. So let me give you an example and just see if this seems like it's working. This may have happened to you recently. You're laying in bed in the morning. Time to get up and get out of bed. You say to yourself, time to get up and get out of bed. And then you notice a moment later or a minute later, you're still in bed. And you say, time to get up and out of bed. And then you notice a minute later, you're still in bed. And then another moment goes by, and then you notice you're standing on your feet. You're up and out of bed. It's called the get up out of bed moment. What was it that occurred in that second right before you got up out of bed? It wasn't because you said to yourself, I got to get up and get out of bed. It wasn't your words. It wasn't your language and your thinking from the neocortex that got you out of bed. It came from a deeper, more primitive place. Time to get up and go now, and we just go into movement. So the key here, very, very important, and I'll be reinforcing this later today and in the next two sessions, is that words don't incent people to take action. Feelings do. Now, we have to use words to get to feelings. So we still are talking, but if we tell stories or paint pictures or refer to an emotional state, that will connect with people in their heart and their hands where the action takes place and not in their head. So we know that this works because the language of the why speaks to or speaks from the limbic brain and not just from the neocortex. Very, very important that you understand brain biology if you want to motivate and inspire yourself and other people. So when what you do is in line with why you do it and how you want to express it, you will have passion. And passion is that fuel that gives you the energy to pursue your dreams. Now, let me share with you a little bit of my personal experience with passion. I had a very successful corporate career as a management consultant and as an employee at big companies. And, you know, I did pretty good. I wasn't super famous. My name wasn't in the headlines, but I made a very good living, raised a family. It was fine. It was all good. But I used to think passion was for somebody else. Like it was too scary, too dangerous. It's not me. I'm sort of too reserved, buttoned down, whatever, something like that. And then along the way, though, I noticed, gee, when I felt really good about things, when I felt passionate, then sort of magically good things happened. But it's not magic. It's a proven science. In the past 4 years, I've served as a business coach and a leadership development expert, and I've had the good fortune to both work with very successful business owners, many of whom are on the line today, and study successful people from a wide variety of industries and sectors. And I go to conferences, I read books, I'm in the field now, what leads to success. And guess what? No surprise, we find that people that have achieved higher than average performance are very deeply connected to their passion, and they're not afraid to express it. They're comfortable in expressing it. So when you're passionate, it just seems like money finds you. Because some people say, oh, you know, don't follow your bliss because there's no money in it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about really being on fire and being able to connect deeply with other people while you do what you do, even if what you do is cleaning toilets or something mundane or something high level. Doesn't matter. The principles are identical. So my commitment, my hope for you today is that you can find a bit of that passion in yourself. And that's the process we're going to go through during this webinar. So What I'd like to do is I had pre-selected a volunteer. Let me see if I can get Chris to come on the line. Kathy, I might need you to type in chat. I'm not seeing the unmute button. Oh, there it is. Never mind. Hey, Chris, can you talk and see if we're unmuted?
All attendees are muted and may unmute themselves by pressing *6.
So, Chris, if you press *6.
All right. Hi, Jim.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you for joining us today live on the call.
You're welcome. So
what I've said to everyone so far is on Module 1, which we did last month, we went through the why discovery process. So, Chris, tell me what your why is.
My why is to clarify or to create clarity for myself and others.
Fantastic. So what was your experience when you discovered your why? Like, did it resonate, or was it no big deal, or and how have you felt since you've gained this insight about yourself?
Great question. So the experience was a great aha moment for me. My experience was that when my why was sort of revealed to me, or when it was articulated verbally for me, it was what I call a baffo, a blinding flash of the obvious. And it was funny because I was like, yeah, that was it. There was a real resonance there for me. And when I told some of my friends and colleagues what my why was, that I'd been through this discovery process and here's what it is, they all said, well, duh, are you the last person on the planet to know this about yourself? And so that was my experience.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that. A little piece about what you said is sometimes when we discover this, it's a revelation. It's like, oh my God, and it just really brings a lot of stuff to light. But for other people, it's confirmatory, which is the baffo. Oh yeah, I knew that. But you didn't necessarily have the language of expressing it that way until you went through this process. But when you do get the language, I have one client who said, I've been in a bunch of different industries, and I can see now how my why fit in every job I had. Mm-hmm. Even though when you just looked at the roles in the industries, it wasn't exactly obvious.
That's very true, Jim. Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to share one personal experience along that very same line. I am a recovering attorney. My experience is as a business lawyer, a corporate lawyer, and one of the reasons that I was not satisfied as a business lawyer, there were parts of it that I really loved, but it just didn't resonate with me. And I realize now that one of the reasons why that is true is because even in the corporate business world context where you think it's not adversarial, there was, at least in the firms that I worked for, which were large kind of international law firms working on these big deals, there was a sense of trying to obfuscate things and in doing so to gain some advantage over the other side. And now that I realize that my whole why is about creating clarity, I now realize how sort of antithetical that whole approach was to who I really am and what really motivates me. So now I see more clearly why I was dissatisfied in that world.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's very profound. And our vision for the why work is to be able to bring it to schools and graduate programs. Why not have this be a special module for every lawyer, every law student, so that when they get out, they may not spend those 5 or 10 years sort of struggling through something that's a bad fit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what I'd like to do now, Chris, is just ask you how you tell the world that your why is to clarify. How do you let the world know that your why is to clarify?
Well, in some ways, in some context, Jim, I basically just say it. When people ask me what I do, I really kind of start out by saying, I feel it's really important to help people get clear on where they're trying to go and how they want to best get there. And what I do with my clients is I engage them in a way of getting an asking questions about what it is that they're trying to accomplish and what issues they're struggling with. And then as I dig deeper into what they're wrestling with, what I try to do is help them get clear on what the best possible options are so that they can make a better decision for how to move forward.
Yeah, so what do you actually do to let people know that you're all about helping to create clarity?
Well, when I'm so apart from the cocktail conversation about what do you do, when I'm actually working with a client, what I do is I ask a lot of questions, I think, of people, including things like, so what have you tried, up until now? What's worked for you in that regard? What's not worked for you so far? What do you perceive as some of the reasons why things have either worked well or not worked well? And I try to, I do my best to do a fair amount of listening, and listening for a couple of things: listening to what they're actually saying, listening to the manner in which they are expressing themselves, and also listening for perhaps some things that are not being said. And then, sorry, to complete the thought, and then what I'll try to do is I will then try to synthesize some things based on my own experience, and I'm kind of an analytical thinker. So as they are talking and I'm listening to them, I try to put different pieces together for them and then reframe what they have told me, and sometimes just reframing issues based on what I've heard from them often helps them identify possible solutions to go forward. I typically don't try to jump in with what the answer is. What I feel my gift is to help them through one or more conversations where together we identify the possible solutions to the issues they're faced with, and then they or we together choose one and work on executing it.
Mm-hmm. And why do you believe it's important to clarify for yourself and for others? Why is that important to you?
I believe that when people are clear on, who they are and what they're trying to do and what their gift is and how they want to express it in the world, when you clarify things for people, including what their options are, then people are in a much better position to make a good decision about how to move forward. So I think clarity, it's kind of like, getting people out of the fogs and the whole forest for the trees thing. Sometimes people need to either step back or step up and out of the pea soup, if you will. And in doing that, a lot of times the pathway forward really becomes clear for them, and then they really know what they can do. They move ahead with a lot more confidence. So I think that's why it's important for me to provide clarity for people.
Mm-hmm. So tell me what you do. Like if I follow you around with a video camera for the week, what are your tasks and activities?
Well, I am
not in super detail, but just kind of high level. Tell me what you do.
Well, I mean, so I'm a business consultant, and what I do is I work with CEOs of companies, and I do a lot of what I just described, which is, sitting down with people and trying to understand what are their roadblocks, what's keeping them from getting where they want to be. And so you would find me either at one-on-one meetings with CEOs, or you would find me meeting with the CEO of the company and his or her management team, having conversations around their strategic plan and maybe more importantly, what are the roadblocks that they feel are keeping them from getting where they want to go.
Awesome. Well, Chris, what I'd like to do now is reflect back to you a little bit about what you said and try to put your why into a whole message.
Right.
And if you'd like to, you can close your eyes, and everybody else on the call, if you'd like to, you can close your eyes and just see how this feels and how it resonates. Hi, I'm Chris. My why is to create clarity for myself and for others. How I do that is by asking a lot of questions and helping people gain clarity for themselves. I synthesize a lot of information. I analyze a lot of things. I identify possible solutions, and I help people see the forest for the trees. What I do is I'm a business consultant, and I work with CEOs one-on-one and with their management teams. Hi, I'm Chris. My why is to create clarity. If you're looking for someone that can help you create clarity, then I'm your guy.
Excellent. Can you write that down and send it to me?
Absolutely.
Thank you. That was great.
Yeah. So the question is just, how did that feel when hearing it?
It felt true. So it felt true to, sort of who I am and what and how I like to do what I do. So yeah, that felt good. I might tweak stuff a little bit only because of, my own style, but you definitely hit on, what I think is a great message.
Great. So yeah, tweaking is part of the process. Obviously, we're in the middle of a webinar. We took 5 or 10 minutes. In an actual session, we take a little bit more time. So thank you very much for participating. I'm going to mute your line again.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Chris. So everybody got a taste of the way the why messaging itself works. We articulate the why, we state the how, and only then the what we do. Because if you're at a cocktail party, someone says, what do? You usually start with the what, and that's neocortex. That's the language of words. It's uninspiring. It's not very interesting. But if you start with what you believe, that's going to get people's attention. The next point is there's a lot of confusion about if I show you the list of the whys, but I didn't explain the process to you, you would say, oh, I do that one, and I do that one, and I do that one. Well, so Chris's why is to create clarity, but how he does that is by making a contribution to others. Whereas my why is to contribute, and how I may do that is to clarify. So there can be a little confusion between what is a why and what is a how. So we go through this conversation to really articulate the specific things that a person does to help others or to express their why. And then we turn into the what, and we just make a very simple expression of what you do, not a detailed expression. And the whole why message is designed to cause the listener, not you as the presenter, but the listener to want to lean in and say, oh, tell me more, or How do you do that? So it's short. It's to the point, but it speaks to the heart, not the head. So what I want to do now is just mention a little bit about how we then discover the why of the business. Because I'm a business coach, and I help CEOs who are frustrated by a lack of a long-range plan in their business scale their business. And we have learned from doing this work that successful businesses have one and only one why. And the why, it's the why of the founder or the current leader. So it's whoever the owner is or the current visionary leader is the why of the business. Now, the next step in our process is very important, which is that we then go through the why, the how, the what of everybody on the team. So the graphic that you see on the webinar, it's not all that pretty to look at. This is the form that we use in our workshop, and we have an online portal where all this information is stored and is then presented back in a graphic, dynamic fashion so that I can see everybody else in the company's why, their how, and then specifically what they do. And another part of the why matrix is the directory, which is a different form, and it simply lists each of the whys and who has that particular why. If I'm about to launch a new product, I might want the challenge the status quo, think differently kind of people to really come up with innovative solutions. But would I want those same people to be the product launch manager, where you really have to follow a step-by-step script? No, I would want the people that do it the right way. So we try to fit some tasks. You can't do this completely, but to some degree it's very useful to fit the tasks to the people's own strengths, their own why. At the next level, we leave the personal journey to the business why. And in fact, this is what we'll be covering in the next two sessions about who your target market is and how you express to them. Because the goal is not to do business with those people that need what you have. The goal is to do business with those people that believe what you believe. Because you make a connection easier, they're more willing to withstand any kind of screw-ups you might do, they're harder to be wooed away by competitors, they're more willing to pay a price premium. There are many benefits to making sure that you're clear about your target market and going after it so you can see why to why with them. The business why then spreads out across all aspects of the company, the culture, the marketing, how we hire. There's really no part of the business that isn't touched by more clarity about each individual person's why, what, and how. There's a very, very important step, and I'm going to close on this and then we'll wrap up, which I believe is possibly the most powerful part of this whole thing. We know from very rigorous data that comes from companies like Gallup that most people hate their jobs. They either range from mildly dislike to actively hating their jobs. 70% of the workforce. You don't want to be one of those people, and you don't want to own a business where that happens. 30% of the businesses, people are engaged, and that level of engagement goes all the way up to the companies that are really passionate, on purpose, inspired. They're the winners of the Best Places to Work award. So one of the key pieces to that is once we've discovered the why of the owner, then we know the why of the business, and then we discover the why of each individual person on the management team, and we have an online application so even larger teams can learn this as well. And then the job is, how does my why as a VP of sales map to the business why? How do I get aligned to the passion and the purpose of the business as a whole? So we have a process we go through to help you map your individual why to the company why. And how do you see the business why through your own perspective? Because we all have our own lens. And that's really how we express our unique gift. So even though the language, the archetypes we use, there's only 9 in total, in fact, there's an infinite variety of variations that occur inside the business. So next month, we'll be talking about how to express your why, the development of a target market, an avatar, an elevator pitch, and then in the session after that, we'll be going deeper into how to actually turn that into messaging that resonates with your target audience. So this is Jim Jubileer, Jubileer Results Group, and I thank you for joining this webinar.